Welcome, future biologists, to Cell, the Unit of Life. Today, we are diving into one of biology's most foundational concepts, the cell theory. This theory helps us understand how all living things, from the smallest bacteria to the largest whales, are fundamentally built. We'll start with the basics, then gradually explore its evolution, exceptions, and profound impact on modern science. Get ready for an exciting journey through the building blocks of life. Let's begin our exploration at the easy level, understanding the very basics of what a cell is and how scientists first started to piece together this incredible idea. Imagine your body, or any living thing, as a house. Instead of bricks, it's made of tiny, fundamental units called cells. These cells are the smallest parts that can perform all the functions of life. The story began in 1665, when a brilliant scientist named Robert Hooke looked at a thin slice of cork under his microscope. He saw tiny, empty compartments which reminded him of the small rooms, or cells, in a monastery. This simple observation was a monumental step, opening up a whole new microscopic world and setting the stage for understanding life's intricate structure. Building on Hooke's discovery, two pioneering scientists, Matthias Schleiden and Theodor Schwanner, came forward with revolutionary ideas in the late 1830s. Schleiden, a botanist, meticulously studied plants and concluded that all plants are composed of cells. Soon after, Schwanner, a zoologist, made similar observations in animals. Together, they proposed the initial cell theory, stating two key principles: first, that all living organisms are made up of one or more cells, and second, that the cell is the basic unit of structure and organization for all living things. Think of a tiny bacterium, it's a single cell, a complete organism, while a giant tree is made of countless cells, all working in harmony. Now, let's test your understanding with a few practice questions. Take a moment to think about the answers. Question 1. Who coined the term cell? Question 2. What are the two main postulates of the original cell theory? And question 3. Name two scientists associated with the original cell theory. Good luck! Ready to go a bit deeper? At the medium level, we'll unpack the individual contributions of the scientists and explore how the cell theory evolved into its modern form. The cell theory didn't just appear, it was built on careful observations. Matthias Schleiden, a German botanist, spent years studying plant tissues in 1838. He concluded that all plants, from the smallest moss to the tallest tree, are fundamentally composed of cells. A year later, Theodor Schwanner, a German zoologist, made similar discoveries in animals. He noticed that animal cells also have a distinct outer layer, which we now recognize as the plasma membrane. Schwanner's crucial insight was proposing that both plants and animals are made of cells, suggesting a common underlying principle for all life. While Schleiden and Schwanner laid the groundwork, their original theory had a missing piece: it didn't explain where new cells came from. This crucial gap was filled by Rudolf Virchow, a German physician, in 1855. He famously declared, "Omnis cellula e cellula," which translates to, "all cells arise from pre-existing cells." This powerful statement challenged the long-held belief in spontaneous generation, the idea that life could suddenly appear from non-living matter. Virchow's postulate established the principle of cellular continuity, explaining how organisms grow, reproduce, and repair themselves through cell division. His work completed the modern understanding of the cell theory. So, combining the insights of Schleiden, Schwanner, and Virchow, we arrive at the modern cell theory, which stands on three fundamental pillars. First, all known living organisms are composed of one or more cells. Second, the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all living organisms. And finally, the critical third postulate: all cells arise from pre-existing cells through division. This unified theory is not just a concept, it's the bedrock for nearly all of modern biology, applicable to every form of life we know. time for some medium-level practice questions to solidify your understanding. Question 1. What did Schleiden contribute to the cell theory? Question 2. What did Schwann conclude about animal cells? Question 3. State Rudolf Virchow's famous Latin phrase and its meaning. Question 4. List the 3 postulates of the modern cell theory. And question 5. How did Virchow's work improve the original cell theory? Pause here to think through your answers. Now, let's elevate our understanding to the hard level, where we'll analyze the evolution of cell theory, explore its limitations, and connect it to other grand biological ideas. The cell theory wasn't a sudden revelation, it was a testament to the scientific method, building on centuries of observation. Early microscopists like Antony van Leeuwenhoek had already glimpsed animalcules before Hooke's famous Koch cells. The theory's journey involved overcoming deep-seated beliefs, particularly the debate over spontaneous generation. It was Louis Pasteur's elegant experiments that finally disproved this notion for microorganisms, providing the critical experimental support for Virchow's idea that cells only come from other cells. This shift from descriptive observation to a unifying principle demonstrates the dynamic nature of scientific progress, constantly refining our understanding of life. While the cell theory is a cornerstone, it's essential to understand its boundaries. Viruses, for instance, are classic exceptions. They are acellular, meaning they lack their own cellular machinery and can only reproduce by hijacking a host cell. Are they alive? This question blurs the lines. Another interesting case involves xenocytic organisms, like certain fungi or algae. These have multinucleate cytoplasm that isn't divided by distinct cell walls or membranes, appearing as one large, continuous cell. While these instances don't invalidate the core theory, they highlight the incredible diversity of life and prompt us to precisely define what constitutes a cell and life itself. The cell theory isn't an isolated concept. It forms a critical nexus with other major biological theories. It's intrinsically linked to the theory of evolution, suggesting a common cellular ancestor for all life and providing the fundamental unit upon which natural selection acts. It also underpins the germ theory of disease, identifying specific pathogenic cells as the cause of infectious illnesses, which revolutionized medicine. Furthermore, it's fundamental to genetics, developmental biology, and ecology, providing a unified framework that explains how genetic information is passed, how complex organisms develop from a single cell, and how life interacts at its most basic level. It's time for some challenging questions to test your grasp of the cell theory at a deeper level. Question 1. Discuss how Rudolf Virchow's contribution completed the modern cell theory. Question 2. Explain why viruses are considered exceptions to the cell theory. Question 3. How does the cell theory relate to the germ theory of disease? Question 4. Describe one organism that is sometimes cited as a partial exception to the cell theory and why. Question 5. What was the prevailing belief about the origin of life that Virchow's work challenged? Question 6. How did Antony van Leeuwenhoek's work indirectly pave the way for cell theory? And finally, question 7. In what ways does cell theory provide a fundamental basis for the theory of evolution? Take your time to formulate comprehensive answers. Alright, NEET aspirants, prepare yourselves. We are now entering the hardest level, delving into the competitive depth of cell theory, exploring its intricate mechanisms, historical context, and far-reaching impact on cutting-edge biology. The journey to accepting all cells arise from pre-existing cells was a true scientific battle. For centuries, the idea of spontaneous generation, life arising from non-living matter, was widely believed. Think of maggots appearing on decaying meat. While Francisco Redi's 17th-century experiments challenged this for macroscopic life, it was Louis Pasteur in the 19th century who definitively crushed it for microorganisms. His elegant swan-neck flask experiments, showing that sterile broth remains sterile unless exposed to pre-existing airborne microbes, provided irrefutable evidence. This paradigm shift was more than just a scientific victory, it established biogenesis as a fundamental principle, elevating biology to a rigorous, experimentally driven science. Virchow's postulate isn't just a statement, it's a testament to the intricate cellular machinery governing life. The mechanisms underlying omnis cellula e cellula are primarily cell division, mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis is the process for somatic cell proliferation, ensuring growth, repair, and asexual reproduction, producing two genetically identical daughter cells. Meiosis, however, is specialized for sexual reproduction, reducing the chromosome number by half to create genetically diverse gametes. Both processes involve a highly regulated cell cycle, with checkpoints and molecular controls like cyclins and CDKs ensuring precise DNA replication and segregation. A deep understanding of these mechanisms is crucial not only for genetics and inheritance but also for comprehending diseases like cancer, which often stem from uncontrolled cell division. The cell theory's universality extends across the vast diversity of life. It applies equally to prokaryotic cells, like bacteria, which are structurally simpler, lacking membrane-bound organelles, yet fully autonomous. It also encompasses eukaryotic cells, with their complex internal compartmentalization, including a nucleus and various organelles. A fascinating extension is the endosymbiotic theory, which explains the origin of mitochondria and chloroplasts. It proposes that these vital organelles were once free-living prokaryotes that were engulfed by ancestral eukaryotic cells, forming a symbiotic relationship. This theory highlights a unique cell-within-a-cell origin, where one cell type came to permanently reside inside another, becoming an integral part of its structure and function, showcasing the dynamic and evolving nature of cellular life. The cell theory is more than a historical concept. It's the bedrock upon which modern biology is built, shaping our understanding from genetics to global health. It provided the foundational understanding for genetic engineering, allowing us to manipulate cellular DNA. It's central to stem cell research, where understanding cellular potency and differentiation is key to regenerative medicine. In cancer biology, uncontrolled cell division is a direct violation of cellular regulation. Its principles continue to evolve with synthetic biology, where scientists attempt to construct artificial cells, pushing the very definition of life. From understanding disease to engineering new life forms, cell theory's legacy is immense and continues to drive scientific frontiers. Let's tackle the first set of hardest-level questions, designed to challenge your critical thinking. Question 1. How did Louis Pasteur's experiments provide definitive evidence supporting a key postulate of the modern cell theory? Question 2. Differentiate between mitosis and meiosis, explaining how each process exemplifies Virchow's omnis cellula e cellula. Question 3. Discuss the implications of the endosymbiotic theory for the definition of cell within the context of eukaryotic evolution. Question 4. Why are prokaryotic cells, despite their structural simplicity, fully consistent with the modern cell theory? And question 5. Critically evaluate the statement, the cell theory is a complete and immutable truth in biology. Refer to any known exceptions or limitations. Good luck! Now for the remaining hardest level questions. Question 6. Explain how a deeper understanding of the cell cycle and its regulation has contributed to cancer research and treatment strategies. Question 7. If you were to design an artificial cell, what fundamental components and processes, informed by cell theory, would be absolutely essential for it to be considered living? Question 8. How does the cell theory serve as a unifying principle that connects seemingly disparate fields like genetics, developmental biology, and pathology? Question 9. Discuss the historical shift in scientific thought from spontaneous generation to biogenesis, emphasizing the role of experimental evidence. And finally, question 10. Beyond viruses, what other biological entities or phenomena might challenge or extend our understanding of the cell as the fundamental unit of life? These questions require comprehensive, well-reasoned answers. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into cell theory. I hope you've gained a comprehensive understanding of this fundamental biological concept, from its origins to its modern implications. Remember, mastering these core ideas is crucial for your NEET success. For more such engaging and in-depth educational content, visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing learning experiences. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep aspiring for excellence. See you in the next session.